Hello, my name is Anne, your guide to an animal's get even. If you like bloodthirsty animals getting back at humanity, then you ought to subscribe right now. Now, today's animal, they have some thoughts. They have some thoughts about water pollution. It's otters. We will start in Montana. Royce was having an evening float down the river on some inner tubes for a birthday party. But then,
This woman is lucky to be alive after surviving a river otter attack on her 37th birthday. This thing was vicious and relentless, she writes on Facebook. It bit my face in several places, both of my ears, my arms, my hands, my legs, my thighs, and my ankle.
Royce was having an evening float down the river on some inner tubes for a birthday celebration when, according to her, I saw one otter right behind my friend before it attacked. Yeah, sneak attack otters. Otter team sixing it through the river. So before she even had time to get the words, "There's an otter behind you," the otter is already attacking her friend. There is no time for a warning. It's just happening.
We were helpless. I did not think I was going to make it out of that river.
The otter is clawing and biting her friend, and then another otter shows up. Another otter who is just as vicious and relentless as the first one.
The attack went on for 5 agonizing minutes before Jen and her friends were able to swim to shore. She was airlifted to the hospital where she received hundreds of stitches all over her body.
It bit Royce in her arms, her legs, her thighs, her ankles, and both ears. That's a lot of body parts to cover with claws and biting marks. So that's great. Frenzied otter. Otter. Her friends pretty much suffered similar fates. They were bitten on their hands, their bottoms. They were bitten, like one friend's hand, the thumb, shredded like so much ground beef, just gone. Scary and terrifying. They're not strong enough words to depict what was happening here. I mean, even horrifying is not a strong enough word. I don't have one for that situation. It was so brutal that Royce even had one of those parent moments where she flashed to thinking about her 3 kids. You know, the parent moment when you think, okay, maybe this is it, but you've got little ones. Yeah, that's what she was having. And that made her mad, and that gave her the strength to fight for as long and as hard as she did against the otter. And this is a mean feat, because they're in the middle of a river. I mean, they can't touch the bottom. There's no leverage for them. They're swimming, essentially. Pretty much the otters can do whatever the heck they want, and the people are playing catch up the whole time because we're not aquatic mammals. She really didn't think she would make it out, but eventually she and her friends managed to actually make it to the shore. Once they got on shore, one of their friends used the SOS function on their phone, but then another friend had to go, basically run 2 miles to where the rescuer crew was because they were in a remote area, so it was hard to get an exact location. They couldn't get the exact pinpoint of where they were. So I assume the least damaged person is the one who ran the 2 miles, but I don't know for a fact. By this time, Royce was covered in her own blood. It was pouring out of her face. It was pouring out of her nose. She was in a situation. She was airlifted to a hospital because of how severe her injuries were. She had to undergo surgery, and there was no specific number of stitches given beyond more than Royce could count. Which, it's a lot of stitches probably, right? I mean, at least 100, but probably way more than that considering it attacked all over her body. And she had to get surgery. And it was a lot more than just her face. She had puncture wounds to her left ankle, both of her legs, the back of her right thigh, both arms, both hands, and, every single one of her fingers. Every single one. You've got 10 of them needed. Yeah, 10 of them were messed up. Now, probably one of the most severe injuries was her ear. Her ear had been split in half from top to bottom. I do not know if there was like one part of it holding it on, or if she just had the piece, which is its own special brand of like things you never want to be doing, holding part of your own severed ear. It had to be basically like stitched front and back and held together with bandaging. Yeah, let that sink in. So her face healed pretty quickly. I didn't see if she needed surgery on her face. My only guess would be that maybe the facial wounds were not quite as deep. And by that, I don't mean like, oh, they didn't like really bite her. I mean like it wasn't deep tissue damage. Like it was still, trust me, like damage, but it wasn't deep tissue damage. So maybe that's why it healed a little bit faster. Because what really bothered her was how long it took her hands and her fingers to heal. Now, to be very clear, Royce and her friends weren't doing anything. They weren't doing anything. They were in the middle of the river. This is a place where an otter is not going to be, they don't make dens in the middle of the river. They make them on shores and banks. So, what the heck? They weren't provoking they were just out there to have a fun little time. I don't know if you've never done it before. Floating is basically you get a bunch of alcohol, you go to a river, you float on an inflatable, and you drink the alcohol. And then usually people take turns getting off of the floats, going over to a different part of the river. Then they come back to their float. I don't need to tell you what they were doing over there. You already heard it. They're drinking a lot of alcohol. What do you think they were doing? So my most harrowing celebration encounter with an animal was the time I got bit by an ostrich, which isn't a long story, but it's not really relevant right now, so I'll tell you about it, another time. Maybe when I do something about ostriches. But that was my most harrowing encounter. So, what about y'all? Like, have you ever had something unexpected with an animal happen during a celebration, whether it be birthday bash or a baby shower? Let me know in the comments. In California, a man, Leffers, was left with 40 puncture wounds after going for what was meant to be a peaceful swim at Serene Lakes near his family cabin. But these lakes were anything but serene. Yeah, that was good. Initially, he was bit in the calf, and he had no idea what had caused it, so he followed his first instinct, which is pretty typical for a human being. He swam really fast away from whatever had attacked him, thinking, okay, hopefully he'll be in the clear. Nope. The otter then popped up in front of him like some Pop Goes the Weasel out of heck. Leffers stated that they were so aggressive that he legitimately felt like they were trying to kill him. And he's probably not wrong. Otters belong to the mustelid family. So this is the same family that includes minks, ferrets, wolverines, weasels, and badgers. These are mostly all predatory animals that can take down prey quite a bit bigger than themselves, like a couple times or more their own size. For Leffers, it was the most terrifying experience he'd ever had. Turns out it was 2 otters, so they bit him over a dozen times while he was in the water, and he was saved by his heroic and daring wife, who used a paddle boat to get out there to the lake and get him in, where he was then taken to the hospital. So, good job. That's a good couple. That's a strong, supportive marriage. If they can make it through an otter attack, they can make it through anything, Then we have a healthy 52-year-old woman in Quebec. Quebec? That place in Canada. That's French. She was bitten by a marine mammal. And to be fair to her, in that area, there are a few different marine mammals that it can actually be. So it did indeed, though, turn out to be an otter. She and her friend realized it was an otter, but then it decided to pursue them as they tried to get away, biting, scratching both her legs, again, nothing noticeable that would have provoked the otter. She wasn't doing anything aggressive, she was just out for a swim. She wasn't near the otter's den. Yeah, she went straight to the hospital. Her wounds were closed. first rabies shots administered. Yeah. Otters. They're a whole thing. This is why I said that they seem really concerned about water pollution. They're attacking people a lot for no reason that we can think of, but I'm sure the otters have a very good reason for why they're doing it. And if they feel like people equals bad water and water's where they live, that totally makes sense to me. I'm just saying. If you liked this video and you want more bloodthirsty animal content, including part 2 of this video, then hit that subscribe right meow. I am here Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Bye! When, according to her, I saw one otter right behind my friend before it attacked. Yeah, sneak attack otters. Otter team 6ing it through the river.